Hey y'all, this is Southern Woods here. Welcome to another video. Football season is almost among us, so we're going to use Ages of Conflict to do a little experiment. What if every NFL fan base was its own nation, and who would end up taking control of the whole US? Well, that's what we're doing here. I used a couple different maps that had fan base locations and area, kind of mushed them together to make this map right here. As you can see, there are some bigger nations, being the Broncos, Cowboys, Seahawks, Chiefs have grown quite a bit, and there's some smaller ones like the Jaguars, Jets, and this tiny dot up here. But we're going to end up seeing what happens. There are a couple oddities, like the LA Rams being in LA, but they do have a little bit of a fan base still in St. Louis. So we'll see if that changes anything, but we're going to get going right now. Alright, what will happen first? The Eagles declared war on the Jets. No surprise there. And the Commanders and Ravens have formed an alliance. Alright, there seems to be some fighting in the Northeast. Tennessee's going at it with New Orleans. The Commanders being pushed back by the Panthers, and they will be the first fan base to fall. The Commanders are the first ones out. The Panthers gain Virginia, and the Titans just fell to the Saints, so the Titans are the second ones out here. We have the Falcons going against the Jaguars, the Chiefs pushing into Broncos land. We have the Bills pushing down into Steelers territory. Lions and Browns have formed an alliance. Seahawks now going against the 49ers. Big rivalry in real life. The Dolphins are pushing up into southern Georgia right now, and the Ravens look like they're going to fall to the Panthers, who have now taken out two fan bases. The Panthers fan base is growing. We have the Vikings pushing into Wisconsin. Big rivalry up there in real life between the Packers and Vikings. We have the Rams being surrounded by the Chargers, who are also in a war against the 49ers. They're holding their own, though. And together, the Rams and the 49ers just took out the Chargers. Meanwhile, the Eagles were just conquered by the Giants, so Philly taken out by New York, probably making a lot of people upset. And somehow the Vikings were just taken out by the Packers. I didn't even see that happen. So now Broncos and Packers are going to get a lot of territory. The Jets didn't have much hope down here, taken out by the Giants as well. So the Giants are the lone New York football team outside of the Bills. Meanwhile, the Browns taken out by the Bengals. A lot just happened here. We only have 23 teams/fan bases left. We have the Cowboys going against the Broncos and Chiefs. My Falcons not doing too much. Meanwhile, the Steelers just conquered by the Panthers, who have taken out a third fan base. So much is happening so fast in this one. Alright, and now the Cardinals taken out by the LA Rams, who all of a sudden are pretty big. There is a whole bunch of border gore down here in Florida. As the Bucks, Jaguars, and Dolphins, even the Falcons have a bunch of mixed up territory. Meanwhile, the biggest nation besides the Cowboys just fell. So Seattle, Packers, Cowboys going to get a lot of that. Chiefs are trying as well. There is only 20 fan bases left currently. We're going to pause and just take a look at this map because things have been going in rapid succession. So we have the Rams, pretty much all of South California and some Arizona. Looking at the statistics, the Cowboys are the biggest fan base currently. Midwest, Southwest. Packers in second, Seahawks in third, and the Panthers in fourth with all these teams they've been taken out. Looking at economy, Technically, New Orleans is the richest fan base, followed by the Cowboys, Seahawks, and then the Giants. All right. Cowboys, man, they have a lot of land, and they also have this little blip in Alabama. Surprisingly, they haven't gone after Houston, taking out the Texans. But yeah, there's just a lot of border gore over here in Florida. Miami, Tampa Bay, and Jacksonville, all trying to take over Florida. Meanwhile, the Cincinnati Bengals pushing deep into Buffalo Bills territory. We have what looks like the Chicago Bears trying to get former Tennessee and Kentucky land. The War of Florida rages on. All right, we have the Falcons going against the rivals and the Panthers trying to push across the Savannah River, which they currently are. Making some headway there. A lot of border gore again in the southeast and in Florida. The Bills now going against the Giants. New York Giants trying to be the only New York team. We'll see if they can take out the Bills. It's a very contentious war. All right, the Colts are going against Chicago and Green Bay. Meanwhile, the Bengals also teaming up against Green Bay. And the Colts fell to the Bears, technically. And the Bears are going to push deep into Cincinnati Bengal fan base territory. Meanwhile, the Bengals are going to push up into the Packers while they're distracted by Seattle. Meanwhile, the Dolphins just fell, taken over by the Buccaneers. So only the Buccaneers and Jaguars have fan bases in Florida. A lot's going on now. Big contentious war with Cincinnati, Chicago, and Green Bay. The Bills just taken out by the Giants. The Giants are the only New York team standing. Only 17 fan bases left. The Chiefs reclaiming some territory. Panthers now having their eyes set on New York. They've taken out every nation or fan base they've gone against thus far, and they team up with the Bengals in a pact right now. All right, we have the Jaguars pushing into Falcon fan base territory. Meanwhile, the Bears were going after New Orleans. Falcons pushing into South Carolina. Meanwhile, New York trying to push the Panthers down. They're teaming up. Panthers been quite the threat. Meanwhile, Bengals pushing south towards Atlanta. So the Falcons are looking a little small right now. Very risky situation. These NFL fan bases, very prideful. A lot of rivalries. You may not be able to win the Super Bowl in the next 10 years, but maybe you can win this World Royale. This U.S. Royale. All right, we have the Saints and Falcons both trying to take out the Jaguars right now. Both of the Falcons especially need some land. All right, the Jaguars have been taken out. Duval land no longer, but the Saints are going to get a lot of northern Florida before the Falcons can completely beat them to it. And now the Saints are going to push into Tampa Bay, or attempt to. Meanwhile, over here, we have the Dallas Cowboys raising an insurrection in Rams territory that got snuffed out. Bears, once again, trying to push into Saints territory. They've been making a little headway over time. Only 16 nations left. All right, Falcons looking weak. Looking weak. My Falcons need to rise up. Meanwhile, Saints pushing Chicago out of their northern territory. Up here, the Giants have repeatedly tried to get some of their land back, but the Bengals and Panthers have been stiff opposition. Bears and Packers all of a sudden gained a lot of Bengal territory The 49ers just said, all right, we are now going to be all Seahawks fans. The 49ers have completely given up on their fan base, uniting into Seattle. How interesting. That probably definitely wouldn't happen in real life. Meanwhile, the Bengals, wow, just collapsed to a revitalized Chicago Bears fan base. They're going to split that territory with the Giants and Panthers. And Panthers, man, they pushing hard into New York. All right, Giants shrinking to just a little part here in the Northeast. The Chiefs being taken out by all their neighbors. Wow. Everyone turned on the very popular and recent Super Bowl champion Chiefs, taking them out. Patrick Mahomes is no longer in this world. Cowboys still looking huge. We have less than half the fan bases left. Seahawks are the largest nation. Cowboys are actually in second right now, followed by the Packers. And talking about economy, still New Orleans, Chicago, then Seattle. Panthers have been a tough team. Meanwhile, the Patriots and Giants now going at it. Raiders, whoa, expanding. Raiders have been fairly quiet this whole game. All of a sudden, they're making a big push. Bears being absorbed into the Packers fan base. So one of the oldest fan bases just saying, okay, we're just going to be one with the Packers now. So that happened. Seattle trying to recover some of the lost land by the accelerating Raiders team. The Raiders all of a sudden starting to collapse a little bit. Losing steam. Packers, whoa, making a massive wave into Cowboy territory. Finally meeting some resistance. All of a sudden, the Buccaneers, who had been saving up some money, pushing into North Florida and South Georgia. They're in alliance with the Falcons right now, or they're friendly towards them. Packers moving deep south into Saints Nation. Meanwhile, the Rams being absorbed into the Seahawks as well. Just everyone on the West Coast saying, Team Seattle, 12th man up now. Only 11 nations. Falcons are the next to fall. My Falcons are gone. The ATL did not rise up. They fell in the year 1300. Only 10 nations left. Seattle, Green Bay, and Dallas being huge. Even the Raiders, who's technically the biggest right now. Packers, Seahawks, Cowboys, Raiders, and Panthers. And then the richest, still the Saints somehow. That's going to be how they stay in this, followed by Seattle, Cowboys, and Packers. All right, place your bets. Who's going to come out on top and be world champion? It's funny. The only teams that really haven't done anything are the Texans, who literally I don't think have done anything. They've just been friendly with Dallas. And then the Patriots really haven't done much. But speaking of Dallas, they just felt them boys are gone. Raiders, Green Bay, and Texans going to get a lot of that. Texans now have all of South Texas. They waited patiently for the collapse of their Texas rival. Meanwhile, the Raiders absorbed into Seattle. This 12-man squad just must be very persuasive, just saying, hey, everyone, be a Seahawks fan. Because they've taken over like 3 or 4 nations just by persuasion, it seems. Unlike the Panthers that have done it out of pure bloodlust. Green Bay making a big push. Trying to fend off the Seattle Seahawks. Obviously the 2 largest nations right now. Texans have no choice but to do something now that their cover of the Cowboys is gone. So they're at war. Patriots still just chilling. Again, they haven't done much either. They're in a pretty advantageous spot in the U.S., at least with not having to battle anyone. Speaking of, the Patriots weren't doing much. They just said, we'll be Giants fans. Got absorbed by New York. There's 7 fan bases left now. The Panthers, Giants, Packers, Seahawks, Saints, Texans, and Buccaneers. Wow, the NFC South, 3 out of the 4 are still alive. Only 1 from the NFC West. Only 1 from the NFC North. Only 1 AFC team is left, being the Texans. But yeah, if this was the Pro Bowl, man, Team AFC would be struggling hardcore. Texans looking close to falling. They are running out of economy fast. The Seahawks finally being pushed back quite a bit. Texans just said, screw it, we'll be Saints fans. They've united into New Orleans. Alright, we had our next absorption. The Fighting Mad Panthers just said, alright, we'll give in to our New Orleans rivals in the Saints. So now there's only 2 NFC South teams left. I'm surprised. The Panthers were doing real well, but then all of a sudden they were caught between 2 pretty big powers and then just couldn't take out any other fan bases. So now there were 5. The Bucks, the Saints, the Giants, the Packers, and the Seahawks. The Packers and the Saints being the 2 dominant forces as Seattle still slowly gets pushed closer and closer to the West Coast. Giants haven't done much in a minute. They're just hanging on, accumulating some gold. And the Buccaneers, man, they're probably very scared. Recent Super Bowl champs, but Tom Brady isn't there this time around. So, wow, the Packers ran out of economy and are having to retreat very quickly. The Saints, now massive, clearly the top nation. And the Packers, Green Bay, one of the oldest teams in the NFL, just fell. Giants, looks like they're going to be next soon. Seattle, a little bit of a revival because of it. Only 4 nations left, all NFC teams. Alright, the Saints finally pushing past the Rocky Mountains. Seattle ran out of money. They're about to collapse. New York's is about to collapse. The Buccaneers are just sitting pretty, probably afraid for their lives. Yep, there they go. Seattle Seahawks have fallen. Only 3 teams left, 3 fan bases. The Giants, the Buccaneers, and the massive New Orleans Saints. Only one will win, and I have a feeling that it's New Orleans. Unless something crazy happened. The only reason why the Buccaneers haven't been out is because they've been friendly. They haven't been warring with each other. My guess, the Saints will eventually take out the Giants. Buccaneers will just... Oh, yeah, the Buccaneers just absorbed into the Saints. Both the Falcons, Buccaneers, and Panthers all became Saints fans in the end. Will it be New Orleans or will it be New York? Alright, there it is, folks. The New York Giants have fallen. And therefore, the New Orleans Saints, if the whole fan base of the U.S. went to war with each other, ends up winning and being the only NFL team in the country. So, the Saints may not be doing too hot currently in the year 2023, but in the year 3054, maybe it'll be the only NFL team, period. But anyways, I hope y'all found that interesting in preparation for the NFL kickoff. Hit me with that like button if you like this. If you want me to do maybe another one of these specifically closer to the Super Bowl or just with maybe the playoff teams, I'd be more than willing to do that. And if you want to see more of these type of videos or outdoor videos, food reviews, hit that subscribe button and join the Southern Woods community. Without further ado, y'all, Southern Woods out.